Life Plus. I'm super glad that you're here today. We're in our series to how to bring a plus to our lives in 2020. So as we start off, I want to take this, kind of illustrate something here. So this is a balloon. I realized yesterday as I practiced for this part of the message that I have lived all my life without really knowing how to blow up a balloon. Until my wife saw me struggling and going dizzy and almost passing out in the bedroom. She goes, "What are you doing?" And then she showed me another way to blow a balloon. I was like, oh my God, that's a game changer right there. All the things I did for my kids, doing it the wrong way. So I want you to think of, in this balloon, when I'm blowing it up here in a second, the air that's going into this balloon are the activities of your life, the demands of your life, the things of your life. All right? So if you are a student or you have a job, raise your hand. Okay, that's a lot. Here we go. Okay, see? I didn't know you could do it this way. You're like, well, I don't understand what you're doing. Okay. How many of you actually not only have a job, but you work hard at your job? There's more there. In fact, you are maybe in a master's program you decided in order to go further, or you're doing extra hours or taking extra school or doing something in order to not just do your job well, but you really want to advance in your career. So you're doubling down and you're putting in some real effort. Okay, now you're going through life, and there's other things that are taxing on you. You have friends. Some of you have friends. Hopefully, a lot of you have friends, and they would actually like to see you, so that takes some of your time. And then you decide maybe that you're going to go into the dating world. And that takes time, doesn't it? He wants more of your time, or she wants more of your time, and so you give that. And then maybe you make this decision at one point in life where you go, let's get married. Because now you're not just living for yourself. Now you got to worry about that other person. And to have a good marriage, it actually takes work. And then you're crazy enough to go, let's bring some kids into our world. Let's have children and take them to soccer and recitals and karate and everything else that they've got going on in their lives. Oh, then we got to get more in there. Woo. What about the time you have to put into your health and fitness? And then you want to add this other stuff. Oh, no. And that is what happens, because we get to a point where either we pop because there's just nothing left, or we run out of gas and we let out our air. And usually when the air's coming out of our lives out of exhaustion, it's coming out on other people, isn't it? It's coming out on other people. I want to propose that there's a better way to live. God's got something else for us instead of just reaching a point in life where we tip, we break, we let go, we melt down, we run away from our marriage, we run away from the church, we run into an addiction, we do these other things. It's called life plus margin. We've looked at one passage this whole series. I want to look at it again this morning, John 10:10, and I'd like us to read it out loud. You ready? Here we go. I have come to give you everything in abundance, more than you expect, life in its fullness until you overflow. So, Jesus wants our lives to overflow. Everybody say overflow. Not explode, not let the gas out, not fizzle out or blow up on people or let it out on people. He wants our lives to overflow, not explode. He's not just one more thing he wants to be added onto your life. He wants to bring you more, not demand more. He wants to bring you more. When we say life plus, that means life plus what? Not more activities, life plus love, joy, peace, or kindness, goodness, grace, mercy, these things, to live this quality of life. So we are talking about how can we live our lives with more margin, life plus margin. So let's define what margin is. Real simple. Steal this from Andy Stanley. Margin is the space between my current load and my limits. You can write that down. my current load. So it's the buffer. It's the gap between how much I'm doing and what I want to be able to do. How much can I handle? Where I'm at and how much can I handle? The space between how hard you're charging, how many appointments you have, how many things you've got going, how much money are you spending, and then the limit. Where I'm at, what I'm doing, and the limit. In that space is margin. And I know some people like to think, I have no limits. I can just go. Everybody has a limit. It's like a balloon. You can only put so much into it before you pop. And it's not healthy in any way for us personally or for our relationships to live without that bandwidth, without that margin in our lives. So here's a little reflection question as we're going into 2020. And it's just for you to think all by yourself. There is no elbowing anybody next to you today, saying, listen to what he's saying. That's you. Don't do that. Just take this in for yourself. Are you ready? Okay. Is my pace of life draining peace from my life? It's a hard lesson we learn in life because as my pace increases, my peace decreases. So my pace increases, my peace decreases. Now, obviously, the opposite is true for some, a limited some, but there's some who are just downright slothful, and you got to get off the couch and you need to get moving. You just got to get moving, and in your movement and get busy and do life, that's going to actually bring you more peace. But for the majority of us, especially living in Los Angeles, California, 2020, we're moving, and most of us are moving too fast. And our margin is decreasing. And as our pace increases in life, our peace decreases. And this is what happened. Stress goes up. Relationships begin to suffer. We get very focused, and we don't have attention for other people because we're focused on what I'm doing and where I'm going. This is a struggle in so many of our lives. When we spend all of our energy at work, for example, or on that project, or running errands, or attending more meetings, what happens is that I get so exhausted because there's no margin in my life. And how that translates now is that I don't have the capacity to even go into deep conversations maybe with my wife, or to dwell deeply with those people I should be dwelling with because you're just taxed. You're up here. And so then those things that really matter most are subject to things that matter less than that. And if I don't take control over that, and this is something I'm in this. If I got a finger pointed at you today, I got 4 right back at me on this one. If I don't take care of myself, and if you don't take care of yourself, and we're running at this accelerated pace, and our bandwidth is decreasing, and our margin is decreasing, what happens is that we can contract something that is legitimately called hurry sickness. That's a real word. There was a doctor, and he came, what was his name? Meyer Friedman. And he's a cardiologist. And he was researching heart disease, and here's what he noticed in his research. This is where his findings. He said, hurry sickness, so it's a legitimate medical condition, hurry sickness is a continuous struggle, an unremitting attempt to accomplish or achieve more and more things in less and less time. More and more things in less and less time. So he's saying that those who are at a higher risk for heart disease or heart failure are those who are running at a higher pace. Their pace is too much. They keep trying to do more and achieve more and go more and get more. And after this, and they become more susceptible to overload, to breakdown, to heart disease. He's going, our society right now, he's saying, is out of control with this. And do you know what time he lived in? The 50s. When he came up with this. This is Leave It to Beaver days. Do you know what I'm saying? This is before the pace we know today, even with social media or emails and all the stuff that we've got today in our technology with our smartphones to make life more easier, right? Make it more efficient. In some ways, it really does do that. I appreciate it. But now, I mean, it's epidemic that we are just running at a pace that we think is normal. And it's not. And it's only sometimes when you step back and go, wait, let me evaluate this. How I'm living my life. I want you to look on your outline at the very bottom of the outline. Every week we do this and put resources of books that if there's a subject interests you, here's some books, go on Amazon, get it. This one right here, I'd really, if you're in this lot, if this applies to you, read that book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. by John Mark Comer. He lists 7 signs of hurry sickness. 7 signs of hurry sickness, saying, okay, here's 7 of these things that if you notice these in your life, there's a good indication that this may be something that you really deal in life, and you need to have as an indicator, step back and say, okay, is this a part of my world? How many of you, even before I go over these 7, you say to me, with me, I'm with you, Mark, on this one. This is going to apply to me. You don't even have to tell me. I already know that I'm in this category. Okay, good. There's 6 of you that are honest with me today. That's great. All right, now you're going to make me have to prove it to you. Okay, here we go. Here are 7 signs. I just want you to kind of check them out, that we may have hurry sickness. Number 1, irritability. Irritability. So this is, you notice you just get mad quick. You're just on edge. You just get a little poke and you're ready to, rah, right? This is road rage, people. I know you get tired of me talking about traffic and the craziness of LA drivers, and I love you all, but some of you got some problems. So here's what I think is normal. My wife always says, they can't hear you, when I'm driving. I'm going, that's not the point. I know, darling, that they can't hear me, but it's, how many of you are with me? You talk to other cars, right? Okay, like, hey, hold on. Don't go there, right? Okay. Hey, whoa. Your lane. Okay, right? Okay. After me, you come first. Me first, right? Okay. But you're talking to cars as you drive. I'm like, that's normal. But what's not normal is when your veins are popping out and you're screaming at them and flipping them off and look, if I just want you to know, really, no judgment, just love. That's not okay. It's not like, oh, everybody. No, everybody doesn't. There's a better way. When I see somebody like that, it's like you want to get behind them, just pull over. You need a massage or something. I don't know. Just not more coffee, that's for sure. But so irritability, that's a sign. 1. Here's another one. Restlessness. These are folks who just don't know how to shut it off. I mean, go to sleep and you're still just, it's just going, right? Can't rest. You try going for a walk or have quiet time with God, but you just can't get still emotionally. Restlessness can be an indication that you really do have this clinical thing called hurry sickness. Another one is workaholism. Don't know how to shut that off either. It's a big one. Work is never done. Just one more email, one more phone call, one more meeting, one more thing. I got to do this after dinner, then I'll be back. Just something else I've got to do. I believe in working hard. I really do. I think it's a good ethic. It's a good characteristic. I believe that for all of us. We should work hard. And there's certain seasons in your life where you're putting in more and more hours. But that shouldn't be a way of living. And so workaholism. Here's another one. Emotional numbness. This is just that feeling that some people have where it's just flat. Like, can't really feel joy. Can't experience compassion. You're just going too fast. You've got no capacity to feel for just even other people because you're so exhausted yourself and you just get emotionally drained and emotionally numb. Anybody so glad you came to church today? Okay. Next one, neglect of health. When we are overloaded, we neglect ourselves. We just don't have time to eat right or to sleep right, to get enough sleep. You're tired all the time. And so you end up, a lot of times these people will end up combating this tiredness with just more and more coffee, right? I mean, you cut them and they bleed coffee. Not healthy. Neglect of health. Here's another one, very dangerous one. And you can notice this, escapist behaviors. When we're stressed and overloaded, we turn to escape. And we have certain behaviors that we can overeat or overdrink. Now, it's not just a glass of wine with dinner. You got to have 2 or got to have 3 or you got to have the whole bottle or whatever in order to escape what I'm going through or binge watch Netflix or just aimlessly and thoughtlessly be scrolling on social media and not even sure what we're doing. Or people who turn to porn and just escape. And this is a real thing. This is a real thing. They just don't know what to do. And they call it, well, I'm just unwinding. This is how I This is how I dial down, is I just do that. No. Be very careful, friends, because those things become compulsions which end up controlling you. And so it's not just an escape momentarily. It's something now over time that you've done so much that now it's got you in its grip. And we don't want that. That's not life plus. And so if we notice those things in our lives, we want to make sure that we're conscious of them and say, this is not going to be my story. Here's the last one, the slippage of spiritual practices. This means you're just too tired to read the scripture. I just don't have time. There's something wrong when the God part of your life, which should be central to everything, is the first thing to go. Don't got time to go to church. I don't have time to join a growth group. I don't have time for, the Bible in a Year app and reading through the Word of God and doing these things. I just don't have time. Again, I'm not judging or shaming. Truly, I'm not. But what I'm saying is, if that's you, we want to step back and just evaluate. Nobody's pointing a finger at you. You want to step back and go, there's something wrong with this picture if I don't have 10 minutes that I can spend with God. If there's not that much margin. That if taking 6 weeks and going to a growth group or coming to a church on a regular basis or whatever things, that everything else gets squeezed in, but God gets like, okay, I just don't have time. I just don't have time. And again, no shame. I just want to evaluate. I just want to go, okay, I want to see where this applies in my life. So all 7 of these we have up here on the screen. Irritability, restlessness, workaholism, emotional numbness, neglect of health, escapist behaviors, slippage of spiritual practices. How many of you would say with me that there's at least 3 of those that affect you? Go ahead, raise your hand. Good. At least 3 of those that affect you. The rest of you obviously don't speak English. Tres afectos. Cabeza. Okay? How many of you say I got 5 of them? We got 5 of them. Come on, don't be ashamed. It's all right. We're in LA, most of us. I would ask you to raise your hand if you have all 7, but you are certainly too tired. I won't put that on you. My point in having us raise our hands is for us to know we're not alone. You're not alone. If you're dealing with that, you're not alone. We get that. This is something that I have to continually call myself back to and not allow. Because my family, I have 2 brothers, my dad, my mom, every one of us are wired to just, have to go 100 miles an hour. And so for my life, even in my 20s, when I was starting out in the ministry, that's how I was running. Just man, boom, gotta get here, gotta get the church here, you get this position, and to this, and I saw it, and I had kids of soccer, and Little League, and T-ball, and then Pop Warner, and then doing this, and karate lessons, and piano lessons, and this, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. And we made a decision. I said, I'm moving. And that is a big reason why I took my family, and we moved to an island in the middle of the Pacific called Kauai. Because I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do this. The problem that I found after I got to Kauai is that I was still there. It was still me who moved there. So I just got busy there. Those poor island people, I freaked them out first. Okay, we got to have a meeting. We got to do this. All right, let's do this. And they're like, whoa, slow her down. And so I've had to learn. It's been a constant process of learning of what does it mean to have the right rhythm of life. And I'm certainly still such a work in progress in that. What does it mean to have this rhythm, this pace, to have margin so that the things that matter most don't become subject to things that really don't matter. And I have messed that up so many times, it's too many to count. But I'm still off in that direction, wanting to go hit that mark. Somebody who's really influenced my life, his writings, prolific writer. He was a professor at USC, Dallas Willard. One of the greatest thought people, leaders on spiritual formation in our generation. And he was asked this question: what is the greatest enemy to a deep, rich, meaningful spiritual life? The greatest enemy. And he said, hurry. Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. Not some big sin, not some secular mindset that's in our culture. Hurry. He's referring to the pace of life, the busy, overscheduled, overloaded life. The greatest enemy to a deep, rich, meaningful spiritual life is hurry, our pace. And then he went on to say this: hurry is the great enemy of our spiritual life in our day. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Ruthlessly go after it. He's like, don't just say, oh, that's just the way it is, or that's just the way it is today, or that's just how I roll, or whatever else. He goes, no, it is the great enemy for a deep, rich, meaningful spiritual life. To have that right rhythm and that pace and that peace of mind and the certain tranquility and stability about you is to make sure there's margin in your life. And the reason is because hurry and excellence are incompatible. They really are. You cannot hurry up and love him or her excellently. It takes time. It takes bandwidth. It takes emotional bandwidth. If you are so taxed and you don't have enough of what it takes to go deep with somebody else, that's an indication that you need to step back. You need to evaluate. We've got to go after it. There is another way to live. If we're racing so hard after things, and again, I believe in a good work ethic. I really do. But we should play hard. We should work hard. We should rest well. We should sleep good. We want balance. How many of you want this real balance? Not just talking about it for the next 20 years, but it's like, no, spiritually, emotionally, physically, to do that. This is what God has invited us to. I think one of the most popular Psalms in the book of Psalms, it's near the middle of your Bible in the Old Testament, and their reflections, their prayers, their songs, most of them written by someone named David, who was the king of Israel. Probably the most popular one is Psalm 23. It's called the Shepherd's Psalm. Even if you're not a Jesus follower, you may have heard this. I want to read just the first couple verses. He's saying this. It's his reflection. He says, the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Well, why? Because he's your shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He's like, this is what God is. This is how he leads me. See, we don't understand that a lot of times about God. We think if we really live a surrendered life or we're walking with God, that somehow that's going to put one more thing in my life that I just don't have time for. He's like, no. He created life. So he knows how we operate and function at its best. And what it looks like to walk with God is that, he's a God that leads me beside some still waters. He makes me lie down in some green pastures. He is the refresher of my soul. See, that sounds good to me. How many of you need that shepherd in your life? Like, I want to yoke up with that and walk with that, who will let me learn how to breathe deeply and walk with him by still waters. How do we do this? How do we get there in this? There's an invitation from Jesus. And I share this verse quite often. It's his heart for us. If you're wondering, what's his heart? This is his heart for humanity. He was coming down to Jerusalem and he sees all these people and he speaks to them, his followers and others, and he says this, come. He's seen them going here or there doing it. He's like, come unto me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. He still sees us today so knocked around by the chaos of the world and stretched in so many directions and pressing for this and uptight about finances and stressed about careers and the toxicity of dysfunctional relationships and all these things that are going. And we're adding more things on and reading more and doing this. And he's like, stop. I get it. You're tired. Life can be. He knows that about our lives, that there's so many things that pull. And he says in the midst of it, come to me. Come here. Learn my rhythm. Learn my ways. The secret to this life, the secret to having this margin and this rhythm of life is found in the middle of that passage. Let's put that back up there for me, would you? He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. That does not mean crack an egg yoke. We don't live in ancient cultures with farming, so maybe you're not sure what a yoke is. A yoke is just this wooden apparatus that goes between two oxen. We got a picture. It goes between two oxen there, and it's used for pulling things, wagons, for plowing, and it has two basic functions, this yoke. One is to establish a pace. So when they're yoked together, the other thing, really there's a third one too, is that the compatibility. That they work better when they know there's somebody next to them, truthfully. The other is to establish a pace. One can't get out in front. So they keep each other at this pace that is sustainable and this pace that is manageable in life. The other thing that this yoke does is it distributes the weight, the haul, the load between two. And this is really, in essence, what Jesus is saying to you and I today and to them back then. He says, look, hitch your life up with me. Take my yoke upon you. It's not heavy. It's not burdensome. Oh, that's the biggest lie. And I regret all the years it ripped me off personally, thinking to really live for Jesus, man, is going to tax me. He's going to be a taker. And it's not. He's like, yoke up with me, hitch with me. I'm going to keep you from going too fast. I'm going to establish the pace for our life. I'm going to help you. You carry a lot. He knows what you carry. As a student, as a worker, as a mom, as a dad, in relationships, he knows what you carry. And we're busy trying to fix everything else and make this person change, and you ought to do this, and if only, and he's like, wait, whoa. Let me help you. I want to carry this with you. Yoke up with me. My burden is easy. I want to show you how to have this right rhythm in life. That's what Jesus is saying to us. And so this is why in 2020, we're focusing on how do I be more with God? We're going to talk about throughout the year being with each other and with our communities and all different things. But first, the priority is how do I walk with God and be with him intentionally? So we've created even a little side note. We've created even a page on our website called With God page. And it has steps on how to pray, how to develop a prayer life. Fasting. How do I fast? What does that mean? How is that a part of my life? Bible reading through the Bible in a year. Because we want to establish at the beginning of the year. I don't want to talk about it, I want to do it. I want to walk with God differently in 2020. Okay. You want to be connected to Jesus? These are great tools to help you. So as we close, I'm going to give you homework. You ready? Yippee-yi-yay. In your cup holder in front of you, grab this card. There should be a card there. Everybody go ahead. I'll wait. Give you time to grab that. I know that's a long reach. There are 4 questions because we want to be doers of the word, right? Not just hearers. We want to take what we hear and go, okay, how can I apply this? And for each person, this is going to look totally different, but there's a great little tool. It's going to help you. And so the first question here, we got to add, subtract, greater than, and less than. So 4 questions, and on the other side, you can write down actually what is that thing. Some of you are going to know it immediately this morning when we're doing it. Others, you're going to take this home and it's going to be homework. Some of you maybe as a couple, as a married, you can take this and talk about this together. So great little tool. So number 1 is, what is one thing you need to add to your schedule? One thing you need to add. You're like, Mark, already established we have no margin. There may be some things you need to add that are good, like exercise, time with God, maybe a date night if you're married. Seriously, maybe therapy is something that you need to add into your life this year. For somebody, it might be a vacation. You need to add that into your world, to your life. What is one thing that you can proactively do to add into your life? And the next thing is, what is one thing you need to subtract from your schedule? You look at it, and it may not be a bad thing, but maybe it's, TV, too much. Social media, too much. Or social media, too much. Social media, too much. Maybe one activity. Do the kids really need to be in 14 sports at the same time? Maybe it's one activity that's just too much. It needs to go. This might be the thing that you fast from this year. That's one thing I need to subtract. What is one thing you'd like more of this year? And again, for everybody, it's going to be different. More time with your spouse might be, more time with kids, more peace, more sleep, more healing, more dinners at home. What's one thing that you want more of you've had? And what's something that you want less of? And you're going to decide. Maybe it's less nights out, less eating out, less weekends away, less social media, if I haven't mentioned that yet. Less. So what's one thing I want to add that's going to make my 2020 better? It's one thing I want to subtract, one thing I want more of, and one thing I want less of. It's going to look different for everybody, but here's the thing. Do this before you fill up your calendar and you just keep running in the same pace that you've ran in the years prior. So make these things, these priorities, and say, this is what's of value to me. These are things I need to put in, I need to put out, and now I'm going to adjust my schedule accordingly. Not look at my schedule and then try to find a spot to add one. No. The main thing stays the main thing, so we're not always living in the tyranny of the urgent, right? That we want to live intentional lives, saying this is what's important, so this, I'm going to put it in there, and something might suffer, but that's not. These are non-negotiables. I've done that with people and couples and counseling and mentoring for years. It's one of the main things my go-to is, what are your non-negotiables? What are you going to put in to say, this is a non-negotiable? It's a huge day when people do that even with church, of saying, you know what, I'm going to quit waking up on Sunday and seeing if I feel like going. I'm just going to put it in as one of those things that I do that's good for my personal life or my marriage. And I'm preaching to the choir right now, you're here. You know, I get that. It's just one of those things. I'm going to have a date night, non-negotiable. I'm going to have time with God in the morning, non-negotiable. What are those things that I'm going to take out, put in, I want more of, or I want less than? And then take this thing, put it on the refrigerator, put it in your car visor, put it somewhere where you're looking at it. Put it in your wallet, you pull it out. How am I doing on this? You're not going to do it perfectly, but at least it's something that we could call ourselves back to and live this year with intentionality more than last year. So keep it with you. All right? Okay, here's the thing. I don't have time for the final thought. So you see on your notes, there's this final thought there. I know this is going to bug some of you horribly this week, but I'm going to do it next week. I have a great illustration that just takes too much time to do. So I'm going to do that illustration next week. See, now you got to come back, right? I know how to get you here. No, we don't have time for it right now. So it'll fit perfect with the next week, because next week we're going to talk about having a margin in an area that is super important of our lives. So that'll be week number 4. But for right now, I want us to stand. Let's stand. Before we leave here today, I want to pray for you. I would like you to posture yourself right now before we get back out there on the roads and in our car and about our business. Before we get to Monday and Tuesday and the rest of the week, take a moment right now and just bow your heads. Close your eyes. Just breathe for a second. If you feel comfortable, just hold out your hands. You know, if you don't worry about it. But just a posture that you want to just receive. I want to say this verse again that I read earlier over you. God's words to you. Jesus is saying this to you individually. Come to me, he says. Come to me. You're weary. You're burdened down. You've got these stresses. Come to me. He's inviting you. I will give you rest. Take my yoke, he says. Learn from me. I am gentle, humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. God, I thank you that you absolutely love us. And your intentions and your desires towards us are good. You are a giver. You want to bring life to us, Lord. Margin and compassion, joy, all these things. Help us not to continue to turn to other things to try to find this. These other things can be really good, but we want you as the source of this in our lives. You're steady. And so I pray that you'd help us, even this week, the grace to be able to turn to you. And as the song said that we were singing earlier, to make room for you. To make room for you. And we will give you all the glory. We're so grateful for you. In Jesus' name, amen.